Are you listening? Damn. Yeah.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Run-In Podcast. I am your host, Bigmike, and we are back with another episode, a top five. We started this series a few days ago. I did the top five wrestling matches that I think John Cena should have in 2025 on his farewell tour. Make sure you go back and check that out. Subscribe to the Run-In Podcast. Follow me on all socials at _BigMike27. We are on TikTok, X, Instagram, anything you can think of. I think I'm even on Threads. I don't post there very much, but I'm also there. So go follow me there as well, just to get everybody together. And yeah, we're doing another top five. It's the second one in the series. I did a poll on X the other day of a few different subjects that we could talk about. And this one won, as you can see, as the scroll goes by. This is going to be the top five wrestlers in AEW that I think could go to WWE and really shine. Now, it doesn't mean that I think these people are doing bad in AEW. Some of them are actually doing really well. Some of them not so much. There are a few that have been in WWE before. There's a couple that I don't know that I've ever seen in WWE. There's one that I think was in WWE for like a hot second and then moved out. Maybe did like one or two matches. So they're not very well known in WWE. The other two were pretty well known. You made sense in NXT in the main roster, then moved over to AEW, and I think they should come back and do really well in the new Triple H regime of WWE. But yeah, that's what we're doing. We're doing the top five stars that I think should move or could move. I'm sorry, but not should. Obviously, wrestlers should be able to go whatever company they want. We should enjoy whatever wrestling we want. I'm a huge fan of both companies. Yeah, so we are going to get right into the list of the top five stars that I think could move from AEW to WWE and really shine. Starting off with number five, we have Orange Cassidy. So I wasn't a fan of Orange Cassidy at first. It really took me a second to really get into his gimmick. Most people see the gimmick as it's hard to understand. He plays a very nonchalant gimmick, almost kind of not trying, but it ends up being a really funny gimmick. And the guy can wrestle. The guy can go with anybody. He has shown that time and time again with some of the matches he's had. That he is a really great professional wrestler, and the gimmick to me has really grown on me. The whole barely kicking, things like that. It's actually become really entertaining, and I think he would do really well with WWE. I think they could do some packages backstage that the WWE is really good at some of the backstage vignettes and packages and things like that. And I think some of the way that they produce and some of the matches that they put together, he's very sports entertainment geared when he wants to be. But then again, like I said, he could go very pro wrestling heavy if he wants to be as well. He's had a lot of banger matches, and I think just everything kind of wrapped up into one. He would be really good on the main roster. He would obviously start in NXT because I don't know that he's ever been in WWE. So they would probably want to kind of show him that WWE style, kind of like they do with a lot of wrestlers that come in. You've seen that with All Ego, Ethan Page, Shawn Spears. Even though Shawn Spears was there before, they still kind of brought him back in NXT. Even some of the women's wrestlers that are coming in, Julia, Stephanie Vacour, people like that are going to make some big impacts from indie wrestling. They always like to kind of bring them into there has been a rash of instant impact stars with the Bloodline and things like that, where people have gone straight to the main roster. But I think he was one, and it would be a really good pop for him in NXT just to get him started, let him kind of get used to the WWE style, the management style, things like that, and then move him up to the main roster. And I think it would just be really entertaining. Coming in at number 4 is one of those guys I talked about that used to be in WWE. It is Miro / Rusev. He was Rusev in WWE. He was with him and Lana. Had some really good matches in WWE. I don't know everything behind the scenes that happened that made him want to go to AEW, but he has gone. And he's one of the ones that's kind of a head scratcher. Everybody thought when he moved to AEW back in the day that he would start to become an even bigger star, probably main event, and things like that in AEW, just because of the change of scenery, the change of style, things like that. But it never really came to fruition. He's had some injuries. It's kind of been stop start. He really hasn't reached the potential that most people thought that he would in AEW. Now, whether that's his fault, AEW's fault, who knows? Combination of both, more than likely. But I think, especially under Triple H's new regime, he did really well in NXT under Triple H, and then moved up and did kind of well on the main roster. He never really shined. I think he had some mid card titles. He had the really cool match with John Cena where he came in on a tank, which is a very memorable moment for most WWE wrestling fans. I'm sorry. So he's one of those that I think that would come in and it would be completely different for him towards the end of his WWE run, because he had that Vince McMahon kind of lackluster NXT call up. Like I said, did a little bit of stuff with him, but not a whole lot. But I think under Triple H, with this new regime, the way he was presented in NXT and all that, I think he would really shine coming back to the WWE. Obviously, him and his partner Lana have since split, so it would just be him. So that would take a little bit away from it, because she was a really good manager for him. I know she is also a free agent as of a couple of days ago, from what I understand. But I don't know, with all the souring relationship behind the scenes, I don't think that they would put them back together unless everything is kind of split. But I still think, even with that, I think you look at people like Gunther and his faction. You look at people like Andrade, some of the international stars that have come in and they're really starting to come in their own. I know a lot of people have questioned some of Andrade's booking, but it's still early. He has won the WWE Speed Champion, which a lot of people are kind of hot and cold on. I think it's really cool because it's different. So it really hasn't caught on. So people try to make fun of it like it's not, like it's not something. But I mean, you put that championship that's brand new on somebody and you're trying to build it up. He's got the vignettes and he was just in Money in the Bank. So, they're doing a lot with some international stars that are coming in. And I think Rusev, Miro/Rusev, would be a really good addition to that if he decided to come back. And I think his contract is not long for coming up, or not far from coming up in AEW. And he just hasn't been around. So I think it would actually benefit him. He's one of the ones that I think that would actually get a really big push if he ever came back, because of the pop he would get as Rusev coming back in. Coming in at number 3 is the only female wrestler that I've got on the list, and it's really I tried to go with a female wrestler that hasn't been in WWE. She's kind of the one I mentioned at the beginning of the video, who I think may have had like 1 or 2 matches on WWE on NXT television, but she's never been really known. She is a huge star in AEW. She's probably one of the top 3 or 4 women on their roster. It is Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. She's great promos, great wrestler. She has that big character feel, really. And I mean, she's owned her gimmick. Obviously, she has to. She is an actual doctor. The DMD is not fake. And for those of you guys who are not familiar with Britt Baker, she is an actual dentist. She does that on the side. And that may be some of the reason why she stays in AEW, because they give her the off time to do that. I don't know that you would have the ability to do that with WWE and their kind of schedule and the way they have their wrestlers perform and things like that. So I don't know how that would work. But I think with her character, with her wrestling ability, I think she is tailor-made to come into the women's division in WWE. Whether you put her in NXT, SmackDown, or Raw, she makes an instant impact. And look, the women's division in WWE is growing by leaps and bounds. I just mentioned two new free agents that are coming in very soon, and Julia and Stephanie Vacour. There are some other ones that are rumored. I won't mention any of them here because a lot of it's just rumor, and there's some of them that I'm not even sure what they're going to do. But those are 2 big gets for WWE, and if Britt ever wanted to come over, I think she would shine tremendously in WWE. But there again, I think she would shine in any company. She does really great in AEW. She's actually in the program right now with Mercedes Moné for their women's mid-card title. So she's obviously a star there, and she would be a star anywhere. But I think WWE could really highlight her in some of the ways that they've done with other wrestlers to just take her to another level. Number two is another guy that I don't know. I don't know that he's ever been in WWE, but he fits the WWE mold perfectly. Number two is Wardlow. He's huge. He's had some good matches. He's kind of been start stop. He's had a couple of the mid card titles. I know he's wrestled MJF. He started off as MJF's uh, kind of his muscle bodyguard type, and then kind of went out of his own when MJF went his own way. Had a couple of mid card titles, had some really good matches, but he is physically perfect for AEW. You look at people like Braun Breaker, people like Obafemi in NXT. Those just big, muscular, powerful guys that historically WWE has really been drawn to. Look, in the past, Hulk Hogan, uh, Ultimate Warrior. Trying to where I was even guys like the Junkyard Dog back in the 80s. He was just big, muscular, huge. Even kind of going towards people like Kevin Nash, who wasn't as necessarily as muscular, but kind of that big frame. Wardlow is just a huge wrestler, very muscular, and really good in the ring. He's still learning. He's fairly new. I don't know exactly how many years he's been doing it, but I know he has a ton of upside. And I think having him come in, and he would definitely start in NXT for a little bit, just because he doesn't have the same experience of some of the other wrestlers that we've already talked about. They could kind of go either way. I don't think Miro would come back in NXT at all unless it was just for a pop, because he's already been in the main roster WWE. He can do that. Britt Baker would only spend a little bit of time just to kind of learn the style. Same with Orange Cassidy. Wardlow, I think, would have a good long run in NXT, kind of the same way they've done with an Obafemi. Start him off with a mid championship, let him really get his feet wet, get some more matches under his belt, and really learn the WWE style, because he's never seen anything other than indie style that he's already in and already done. So I don't, but he would very quickly, again, not as nearly as quick as the other ones, but he would quickly move to the main roster because he's tailor made for it. I mean, just big, strong, quick, powerful, very Braun Breaker esque type of wrestler, and just could come in and really dominate going forward. I think he would do really good in the main event scene. He does probably need to work on his promos a little bit. I haven't heard a ton of promos from him in AEW. I'm sure there are probably a few, but just overall, it's definitely somebody who has maybe the biggest upside of the entire list, just because of where he's at in his career and what he has left to do. And number one is just a personal favorite of mine. He has been in WWE before. I loved him in WWE. He's been in the Indies. He's been around for a while. Number one is Keith Lee. When Keith Lee was in WWE, I was pumped. I am a huge Keith Lee fan. He was one of my favorite wrestlers, and still is when he does get to wrestle. His AEW run has been very, I don't want to say lackluster, because he's had some good matches and he's had some injuries that have stopped him, kind of stopped his momentum. But to me, Keith Lee is a star no matter where he goes. Puts on some of the best matches. Again, he's a big, powerful guy. You call back to his time in WWE, his matches with Dijak. Just in like some of the visuals that him and WWE worked on, he was really the best one. And I called back to it because Obafemi did it a couple of pay-per-views ago, where you see like his opponent kind of standing there, because he usually plays the baby face, Keith Lee does, or he did in WWE. But you've got the heel standing there, and it's a really tight shot on the heel, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, you've got Keith Lee, who just kind of slowly comes up into screen, kind of like that menacing figure in a horror movie. And it's just it's amazing camera work, and it's an amazing thought between the wrestler and the production to kind of get that, and that really made him. And I think those kind of ideas and those kind of things really put him over. I don't know why his AEW run hasn't really done a whole lot other than the injuries. I mean, I haven't really heard any stories about him being unhappy or anything. But if he were ever to come back again under Triple H is the main thing here, because in NXT under Triple H is when he really shined. and then he came up to the main roster and kind of died out. He had a couple of good matches. And it's one of those NXT call ups that everybody was excited for, thought he was going to do well, and just kind of, for lack of a better term, just kind of crapped out. And whether that's Vince McMahon booking at the time or whatever, he got frustrated, wanted to go to AEW, and did. So I think now with this brand new WWE regime with Triple H, he's familiar with him. He knows how to use him. He booked him really well, and it doesn't take much to get somebody like Keith Lee over. He's got tons of charisma every time he's on the screen. He's got tons of ability. He can wrestle with anybody, and he's one of the best wrestlers in the world, in my opinion, which is why he's number one on the list. So that's kind of our list. Those are the top 5 people that I think should be able to move from AEW to WWE and make a really huge impact and be really big stars. We had Orange Cassidy, Miro or Rusev, Britt Baker, Wardlow, and number one of my favorite wrestlers in the world, Keith Lee. Thank you guys. Hope you enjoyed the list. Stay tuned for more top 5. We will put another poll up on X. So make sure you again follow us on @_BigMike27 on Twitter, all social medias, TikTok, everything like that. And we're going to start doing some more TikToks. I've been talking to some friends of mine who we may do some tier rankings and things like that, but that's still in the works. There's more to that to come. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for any updates, anything you go. Make some comments down below who you think should be able to go move from AEW to WWE. If you agree with the 5 that I have, if there's ones you want to add, or if you just think I'm an idiot, it's good too. Let me know. Put the comments down there. Happy with any interaction. Appreciate everybody. Hope you have a good day.